It's a bad idea on steroids, and you, the taxpayers, are funding it. The release of pretrial inmates back into the community on just a signature, a promise to return to court. Many of those arrested, often repeat offenders arrested for violent crimes, are released without the supervision of a bail agent, bail agents who are held accountable for the defendant's appearance in court. This creates an additional burden on law enforcement and the criminal justice system, a public policy that affects public safety. How is this happening? For more than 100 years, the commercial bail system has provided for the appearance of the defendant in court at no cost to the taxpayer. The system worked well. Jail space was preserved for the most dangerous violent offenders. Almost everyone released on bail appeared for their trial. Because those that failed to appear for trial were deemed fugitives, tracked down and returned. They were brought in because if they didn't, someone stood to lose financially. This financial stake in the defendant's appearance in court meant his family and friends were incentivized to ensure the defendants appeared for trial. The system worked, and worked well. But during the expansion of the Great Society programs of the 60s, taxpayer-funded pretrial release programs were created to benefit the indigent, nonviolent offenders who couldn't afford bail. For those few who qualified, they were released with a signature and a promise to appear for trial. Today, this system has morphed into a giant get-out-of-jail-free card that encompasses defendants who are not indigent while leaving the truly indigent behind in jail to await trial. Pretrial release programs have expanded well beyond their original scope and purpose, and today there are over 300 taxpayer-funded pretrial release programs nationwide, whose participants routinely include violent and repeat offenders, many of whom are able to post a commercial bond and have done so in the past. Some states and cities have replaced commercial bail programs with these taxpayer-funded release programs. When defendants fail to appear in court, the cities do not have the law enforcement resources to apprehend them, and the federal government has become a major source of funding for these release programs. In fact, the federal government is often the single biggest funder of these release programs. Due to the lack of accountability and supervision, people are being run through these programs that shouldn't be participating. Hardened criminals, repeat offenders. Why is this happening? 1. Because the taxpayer-funded release programs aren't effectively screening those who participate. 2. Because they aren't sufficient rules who can and cannot participate in pretrial release programs. And 3. Because these programs aren't required to report the efficiency of their program. Why? Because they are not required to report who they allow to participate in these programs or whether or not that defendant showed up in court until the final adjudication of their case. Believe it or not, this information on these defendants is neither collected nor reported to either Department of Justice or to Congress in any systematic fashion. So there is no way to determine who's participating or how well these pretrial release programs are performing. Absent such data, hundreds of federally funded pretrial release programs are not accountable to taxpayers. If Congress continues to fund pretrial release programs, Congress must be able to determine their effectiveness. Taxpayers deserve to know if their limited resources are being spent wisely and their communities are being protected. That's why Congressman Ted Poe and Senator Orrin Hatch has introduced legislation to bring accountability to these release programs. This legislation will require these release programs to report who participates in the programs, the criminal history of the participant in these programs, including previous arrests, charges filed, previous failures to appear for trial, and the success rate and failure rate of the program. It is time to bring an end to the injustice, bring accountability to the system. Call your members of Congress today and ask them to co-sponsor the Citizens' Right to Know Act.